Okay, so it is 10 o'clock now. So welcome to everyone to this webinar of ours of the New Economy Accelerator and the process that we have in making sure that we select 10 candidates that are really going to benefit most and make the biggest impact through participation in the program. My name is Christoff Oosthuysen and I'm the resident coach of the New Economy Accelerator. So those of you who will be successful in coming onto the program will definitely get to know me well, and I hope to get you very well too, and to be able to contribute towards the success that you are aiming for. Today on the call we've got Mao Amis, who's really the moving person behind this whole initiative. Who all of you will meet to today over the fortunate electronic medium that we have through the hosting of webinars, but hopefully soon also in real person. So welcome. I see Roshana, Emil, Pierre, Naki, Chris, and hopefully there are others signing up too. And there were 20 people shortlisted, of which all of you that are signing in here today are part, and 10 of those 20 will in fact then eventually get into the program. Those who aren't looking at this live will also be able to see the recording of this webinar, so it won't disqualify anyone in terms of the final stage of selection if they couldn't make it for the call here today. You'll see there's also a nice smiling face on the call in the form of Nikiwe Solomons, who's the program administrator. She has that role because she's the most efficient of all of us, and the one that keeps all the detail together for people like ourselves who may be getting more forgetful sometimes and not attending to all the detail that we need to do. So you may also have received an email or some communications from her with regard to this webinar. So let's quickly do finish the introduction. So now, just as an introductory note, would you like to just set the stage for us in terms of what we want to achieve today and what we should be expecting from this webinar on this Thursday morning?
Well, welcome everyone. First of all, I would like to say if you're on this webinar, it means that you have been shortlisted potentially to participate in the top 10 program of the New Economy Accelerator. So congratulations, big time. I think that really the projects that you guys brought forward are exemplary of what a new economy is about. And this initiative really is about building that critical mass to try to hopefully help us transition into this new world that we all desire. So once again, congratulations, and I'm hoping that in the course of the 1 year we'll be working on this program, we'll continuously engage with you as we move forward. An important thing that I wanted to say, and I think I highlighted that in my email to the participants, was that by being on the top 20 already, you qualify to benefit from the program in one way or another. First of all, you're joining already this new community, this community of new economy practitioners on the one hand, and hopefully as we roll out the full program, even though not everyone will be participating fully on the program, you will still benefit from some of the resources that we will be generating, whether it's training materials, whether it's such webinars and so on. So you're already part of that community. The reason why we only can afford to take 10 is because of logistics and resource constraints. But otherwise, all the 20 that have been shortlisted actually represent the new, the new economy practice or community of practice that we would like to build. So I think that's an important message that I would like to pass across. In terms of the way forward, I think this webinar today really is about the Flow Canvas 2, which is to enable all of you guys reach that one-page, if you like, business plan that we will ultimately use as one of the criteria to determine who will be on the next level, basically that we will be providing the full support to. So this webinar is essentially about that. The first webinar, which unfortunately didn't work quite well, was providing the broader context in terms of the new economy and what we mean by the principles and the entire how the program would look like. So that is basically what we're setting here today. I don't know, Christoff, do you want me to, at this moment, to provide an insight into the schedule and the process moving forward from here?
I think let's save that for a moment, Mao.
Okay.
By the way, the chat area is also for people coming onto this webinar to pose questions. So I see, Pierre, there you've been telling us about the mobile app that you've been building and the impact for the audience across Africa that you're aiming for. So we can be chatting away there, talking about what we do, and Emil about food waste management. So it looks like there are some interesting projects in here, and of course the applications that you've put in already have set the stage there with some details. Stick onto this webinar, and by the end of it you'll know exactly what to do next, because you're going to use an online tool to submit some more information to us, which will be the basis of the selection of the final 10. So it is quite important that you get this right. It's not complicated at all, so there's nothing to stress about, but it will perhaps stretch your thinking in some instances in terms of things that you haven't thought of before. And I'll present to you this tool. The basis of that tool is called the Flow Canvas. There's also some other ideas that I'll quickly share with you around focus and so on, which are tools that we will be using in the coaching process. So it will give you also a kind of a taste of what are the things to come. But before we get there, Nikiwe, I think you didn't intend talking, but maybe you just want to say hi. You've been communicating with everyone on the call here today. Would you like to quickly say hi and perhaps what your role in here is?
Hi everybody. So I'm going to be your go-to person throughout the program. What does that mean? So I'm your first port of call before you speak to Mao or you speak to Christoff. And should you have any questions or concerns about the program, you'd speak to me. So I'm also going to be the one in contact with you, giving you updates of what's next on the program and what the sessions will be like, and the logistics of travel for those that are not in Cape Town and also in Cape Town, and organizing events and so on. So I'll be the person you speak to.
Great stuff. So if there are any specific questions as well, you can email back to Nikiwe, or you can use the chat now to ask those questions. She's going to stay on the call and can be answering while we may perhaps talk about other things in the live window. But now I think shall we talk about the details of the next steps and the selection process and so on towards the end. So I'll time what I talk about the flow canvas and all of that, so that we have a good 15 minutes to talk about that and to address any questions that there may be.
Yeah, so two things. I'm just, we've had a lot of queries in terms of providing some insights into the details of the program. So I will be walking you through two things. One, the process thus far until the selection of the top 10, and I'll also just show you shortly, if you like, a schedule of what the entire program looks like. Because an important thing with this in any is that we want people who are going to be committed to work the entire journey, and so it's important for us to show to you what the whole schedule is looking like, and so that you get the bigger picture of the whole initiative. But from a practical perspective, in terms of selecting the top 10, so once you familiarize yourself with the Flow Canvas tool today, we're hoping that by Monday, which is the 14th of, we're giving you basically tomorrow and the weekend to complete your one-page business plan and submit it by midday 14th of September, which is Monday. And because the rest for the rest of the day we'll be going through those proposals to try to the one-page plans to see who have made the cut for the top for the top 10. Again, as I emphasize, this is not a competition. This is just to try to get some of the nuances of really which of the initiatives has the best fit to the new economy agenda. So that is the purpose of this one page, and also just to start to get an insight into the kind of needs that that might arise from participating in the program. That's why we're walking you through these steps. So Monday midday we will expect the one page to be submitted, and in the course of the day we will notify everyone of the outcome. And because we want to make the public announcement on Tuesday, because our newsletters are scheduled to go on Tuesday.
So I think that's rather important what you say, Mao, is that people will have the weekend until Monday to prepare what they can submit, so there won't be a big rush from today, you know, so after the call they can start work on that. And the second thing that I heard you say, which I think is very important is that it is about the fit with the program. This is not about the sophistication of the business, or to what degree you have potential to make a hugely successful business. It is the fit. However, the 20 that have been selected are all to benefit in some way or the others. It's just that the 10 people are coming on the NEA program right now. So we are building a community here too of practitioners, people that are out there that can support each other. So it's not, we're not going to say, sorry, you didn't make the cut of the 10 if you don't, and that's it. Hopefully there will be an ongoing relationship too. But what you share us with that graphic that you have, visually see that too. So
let me do
the
that.
nice thing about these tools is that we can actually bring up visuals too, and I'll show you a bit more about the flow canvas on the visuals later on.
Okay. Well, this is just the entire. Can everyone see the? I hope everyone is able to see the graphic. Okay, cool. So this is basically the entire program for the accelerator. Is in total about basically a year, and so the initiative was started in August, which was so the first 2 months was really around inception setup. We launched on the 6th of August. And so for those 2 months, August and now we're basically setting up and hopefully doing the diagnosis of needs, including the recruitment and so on. So by the end of this month, we would have gone through the first phase of the orientation. Then the next phase, which is probably the most important and which will be informed by the webinars we're having, the one-page applications that you're submitting, is what we call the business development roadmap. So this is the training element of the accelerator program, because we do recognize that not every participant that is going to come on the program is going to be at the same level. So there is a need to make sure that everyone is prepared in terms of the traditional business. You have a viable business, that is, so to speak, and also to make sure that everyone really has grappled with the ideas of the new economy and have identified potential opportunities of how the new economy can inform their business principles. So we have this. The 4 months is a very structured training sort of program where it's going to be quite a resource heavy to some extent, and to give you an insight, we have structured it in such a way that there are about 6 modules that will be delivered over a period of 4 months with physical attendance every 3 weeks. So every 3 weeks we will fly everyone down to Cape Town for a minimum of 2 days session with our list of, if you like, experts in various fields, ranging from financial modeling to issues around marketing, sales, and the new economy, and so on. But just to prepare you in terms of the delivery of the program. So the commitment that will be required from participants on the program is to avail themselves at least every 3 weeks to either fly down to Cape Town if you're out of town, folks, or if you're in town, to avail yourself for that program. So far we have scheduled that the training will take place between Thursday and Saturday or Sunday sometimes, but towards the end of the week. And as I said, various modules will be delivered over this period of 6 months. So with a break in December, so this will go on until February next year, where we'll deliver this structured program. And what's also important I would like to highlight here is that even though we have an idea of what this training will encompass, a lot of that will be informed by the diagnosis of needs. Once we receive your one-pager business plan, we understand what the needs of your business are. Because for us, it's important that we don't waste anyone's time. We want you to participate in this program because it's going to help you grow your business, because it's going to make a difference. So your feedback in terms of your needs will be very critical in informing how the program rolls out. I think that is the important point there. And as you'll see with the purple highlights, within that the blue highlights, so from the time of the inception, we'll have a dedicated coach. You've already been introduced to Christoff. So between the modules, we will be in touch with you even if you're not on site, in terms of the Christoff, to check with you to make sure everything is fine. If there are any assignments that you have gone out with, if there's anything that you would like to check with us, and if there are any questions, the coach, that is the role of the coach, to keep in touch with all the participants over that time, because we do understand that a coaching process is not just a once-off thing. It has to be continuous. And we will also be on the lookout for strategic partners and support to bring on board, because we remember this program is about investment, preparing your enterprises for investment readiness. So throughout we'll be scouting other opportunities to bring you on board, so that, you know, to open up other opportunities beyond our own program. Then after the 4 months, we will, as part of the investment readiness program, we will then have a much more focused, if you like, one-on-one mentorship and coaching with individually. We're lining up a group of mentors, experienced business folk and coaches and so on, to individually address any other issues that you might have that have not been addressed in the overall program in the last 4 months. And then the final 3 months, I think that's probably the most important thing here, is then taking out, showcasing some of these enterprises. So whether it's through building our broader networks in investor roadshows, and potentially gearing you up to attract, if you like, investments to into your enterprise. And I think that's probably the most critical element of the program, because that's where everyone will likely benefit, whether you already have a well-established business and so on. I think the exposure that we will give you, the international networks that we have built over the last 2 years as we initiated this program, will come handy in helping you take your business to the next level. As a parting shot, obviously the most important thing I would like to say here is that there's only so much we can offer. At the end of the day, really, you will benefit as much as you, depending on what you bring to the table as well. So we're really hoping to bring on board people who are very energized, who really believe in this new economy as a way of changing how we do business, and hopefully together we will learn and building this strong peer network to be able to scale up your enterprises. Christoff, that's basically, I would like to stop here. I think that gives everyone an overview of what the program looks like.
Great stuff, Mao. So if you just want to unshare your screen, yes, then we can get your face back. So that was quite a mouthful, and I think perhaps if you look at it the first time, it may look a bit intimidating, but it's not, because the essence of it is that the program is geared towards addressing needs and your specific needs. So we'll come back to that a bit more later on. In fact, if you have questions, you can use the chat area to type them in. We may not answer them straight away, but we'll come back to all the things that have been asked by the end of this webinar. So if there are questions based on what Mao presented now in terms of the program and how it's going to roll out in terms of the different phases, please ask so in the chat area on the right. The main purpose of today's webinar is to empower you. So by the way, now did you unshare your screen, because I still see your face.
Oh, you can't see my face.
I see your face. I see your face all the time, and we have to actually share
That's schedule. Okay. Sorry.
You must just stop the sharing. That's
okay.
In fact, you're sharing now. Okay. But in any case, so let's see what happens if I.
Should I stop?
Yeah, you should stop sharing. Yeah.
Should I continue sharing?
No, you should not continue sharing. You should stop sharing. Okay. Let's see if I can override you by sharing that. Yes, there we are. Okay, so as you know by now, this is called the program is called the New Economy Accelerator, and the reason for this choice of the name, of course, is that it focuses on businesses, organizations that are contributing to new ways of doing things in a broken world. So all of the 20 people that have been selected into the final stage meet those requirements in terms of doing something of interest that through the impact of that can make a difference. And of course, in the last part of the name, the accelerated part says that you're already busy with something. So if you come onto the program, you're going to come onto a program with 10 other people that are busy doing stuff. And this is the way that the program is therefore also designed, that we don't come just with pre-decided content, but we respond to what you and your peers are going to put on the table. Make our job a bit more difficult, but we're up to that challenge. So I'm going to do a bit of a presentation now. So you can keep asking questions. I'll be looking at the questions as you type them here too. So do as you have a question, type it in. If we don't come to it today, we will definitely come to it at a future point soon. I'm going to show you certain things in terms of the approach that we're going to be following in the program. Basically, the two important points, and these were the points that we tried to make very briefly in the first webinar, which we all know now didn't record so well and had some technical problems. I'm going to repeat one or two points that I made there for the benefit of completeness. But these are the two principles underlying our journey together. The first is that if we want to succeed and make a difference, we need to play our best game. We should not be playing someone else's game. We should play the game that's going to help us in making an impact. And the second is that we should simplify the way that we do our planning. Gone are the days that the world is predictable and that we can project 3 years into the future and know with a fair level of certainty how things are going to happen. So let's talk about those two things quickly. So firstly, we talk about playing your best game. Now, what does that mean? And how do you know what is your best game? If you play sports, at primary school, the coach think you will be a good forward, and they put you in the forwards, or you will be a back or defender or striker, or depending on the code that you play, and you get assigned that role. However, that's not as easy as that when we make decisions in terms of what we focus on in terms of our business. Now, one of the concepts that I as a coach use often with my clients, it's called the head job concept. It's based on Jim Collins's observations that he made in his book, Good to Great, worth reading. But one of the observations that he says there is that, and this is based on research, by the way, that he's done over many years, that entrepreneurs that are successful understand this concept, he says. They will firstly go back to the things they're passionate about when they need to go into a phase of growth or when their businesses are under strain. So the question for you is, what are the things that are really driving you, that you really feel strong about? And if you have a circle to list those or to write those down, you can take a piece of paper now and draw such a circle, and write in that circle things that you really feel strong about, the things in the world that you want to change. And us, as the 20 people that have shown up in the program thus far, I can already see there's a lot of drive there towards a passion of making a difference in what you want to do. So probably there are quite strong things that you can write down there. The thing is, passion alone doesn't lead to success, I think, as we all have noticed. So what Jim Collins found is that if you combine that with the things that you're really good at, that you're proficient in. And you can list those things too. Write them into a different circle which you draw on the same page with some overlap. Now there can be some things that you're proficient in, that you're good at, which overlaps with the things that you're passionate about. But there are also things you're going to be good at that don't really overlap with what you're passionate about. And there are also going to be things that you're passionate about that you maybe not so good at doing, but which you believe are important to do. And then he goes on to a third point, and that is sometimes quite difficult to measure. Sort of what is possible in terms of sustainability and creating something that can live on its own and have an impact without some outside assistance. And that's where the profit thing comes into play. And if you draw a third circle, then there will be overlap between the three just in a small area. So there's lots of stuff that's profitable that you can do out there, that you can make money into a business. But there's only a small bit where your specific individual proficiency and the things that you're passionate about overlap. And that is where your focus should be. That is your purpose. That is what your business should be focusing on too, by the way. So your life purpose and what you do in your business can overlap in that way. So this is just very briefly a tool that we can use. Some of you might have seen this before. We can use this tool to help us just in thinking through what are the things that we should really focus about, including in the businesses that we're working on now. So my purpose. So purpose, by the way, is a word that we can use quite a bit and that I use quite a bit in the work that I do with entrepreneurs. We start with purpose in many ways, and you'll see when we talk about the flow canvas later why that is important too. But there's also this thing about what I'm naturally good at that we need to take it on.
Sorry, Christoff. Christoff?
Yes.
Sandras is reporting that they're not seeing the full screen. They're only seeing it as at the bottom, basically. Can you check to make sure that everyone is viewing it clearly?
What are you seeing, Mao?
I'm seeing the full screen, but someone is saying they're not seeing the full screen.
Okay, so if you have any problem, I would suggest that you close the window and click the link that was emailed to you again. It should show up as a full screen. It could be the size of your screen, so make it full window. But in general, it should display well. If there are other people that have display or sound issues, just type there for us too, that we notice that, please.
I think you can go ahead now. I think they're probably sorting it out.
I'll just track back. I think I see now many people may not. This is the picture. So thanks. Who was it that noted that for us? So that's the picture of the three circles. Sort of. So I'm going to come back to that. But you can draw the three circles and write in proficiency, passion, and profit into the circles that come to purpose. So you can see it now. Benjamin, Chris, anyone, Emil, can you just, if you see the full screen now, are you okay? Okay. So we're going to talk about what we are naturally good at. So you see that there, I didn't tick the right tick there to show the right screen, and so we learn. Next time we'll know. So in asking that question about what we're naturally good at, we can start off with this question: what are the 5 questions to all answers? So if you know the 5 questions to all answers, why don't you just type in there what you reckon the 5 questions to all answers are in the chat? Anyone that knows the 5 questions to all answers? By the way, thanks Pia, Glenda, everyone, Benjamin, Emil, Chris, Sandra. I see we are kind of a full house, so that's nice to see that everyone arrived successfully on the call here today. So what are the 5 questions to all answers? Anyone that would like to guess? If you know the answer to this question, then it's kind of obvious. In fact, you get taught this in journalism in the first lesson that you attend when they teach you how to write a good introduction to a story, because it gives you a comprehensive description. Yeah, there we are. 5 questions are, of course, what, who, when, how, and why. Now, the 5 questions not really kind of scientific explanation of things, but it gives us a sense of where we're going and what are the things that we naturally focus on well. And as it is, we as people are looking at the world with some of these questions being dominant in us. It is kind of like looking through the world through a set of glasses, that if you wear green glasses, you're going to see a green world, while if you have red glasses, you can see a red world. And in that way, the way that we act and the way that we understand things may vary. So when we talk about finding your natural best way, to be aware of and to take cognizance of what the dominant questions of those 5 questions are in you could help you in doing things in a way that you can get most results. So if you ask yourself the question, what am I naturally good at? Which of those 5 questions are dominant in my life? You can start get a picture of yourself in the game that you should play. You know, so the striker is the one that is fast and takes the risk and can shoot accurately. The defender is the one that's consistently on the ball and don't let anyone past him. The goalie is the one that can quickly move and save the day. So depending on which of the 5 questions are dominant in you, your game that you play in your business and in life should also direct you towards what you should be doing and who you should be playing with, who should be the other people on your team with other dominant questions. So this is one of the tools that we use quite a bit in our coaching work and that we will also come back to in the program. But the interesting thing is that it's not only the 5 questions that are dominant in me as a person, it's also the questions, those 5 questions also occur in my business. And I'll come back to that just now, because in the flow canvas we use that quite a bit. But the 5 questions relate to this, it is a bit like the what question is like spring, it is like new beginnings, it's about new ideas, and people with a lot of strength in the what question are people that are innovative, and perhaps their biggest challenge is that they come up with too many ideas and don't know which ones to prune away. The people who are showing up in the world with a who question as a dominant question are those that are that find it easy to connect with others. It's like summer, they're out there connecting with people. There's a lot of activity happening, and people with this dominant question find it very easy to get along with other people and make the connections. However, they may fear being rejected by people in that time and find that as a challenge sometimes. While if we talk about the when question, it's a bit like late summer, where one moves away from that heat and activity out there, and it's more about the slower time for the apples that have now formed on the tree. So during summer you'll find from a small apple to a big apple it grows quickly, but you can't harvest it yet because it doesn't have the value. You have to wait for it to ripen. And so the when and where goes together. That's all about timing, about being patient. There's people with a lot of when, where question dominating their lives. They're good at knowing when the value is right. So they become traders perhaps, or they know how to put things together to make the activities work. So they become project managers, for instance. So there are also people that care a lot. In fact, their big challenge is that they may care too much and that they may exploit themselves to their own detriment in the aid of something that helps other people. And then the 4th question is the how. So the how is like an autumn season, so when you have to harvest, it's all about efficiency and effectiveness, about being organized. So people that have this question as a dominant question are people that are good at completion. They can see where things are going to go and what's going to be needed to complete things. However, they may find that people that say that they've been negative because they can see something going wrong sooner than others too, and that may be a challenge in how they deal with other people. But in any case, this is all about actually then realizing the value, so that we can go into the last of the 5 questions, which is the why question, and it's like winter, like the season of winter. And in winter, of course, in some countries, it's so cold that you don't see any activity. In fact, the ground is covered with snow. But we need that rest. We need that reflection, like water. So if we had a good season, it may be calm. The water may be calm and nice to walk around or to go for a swim. but it can also be stormy. And if the preceding season wasn't so good, you're going to have difficult times. So the why question is really about that, reflecting about how the past was and what we must now do to improve what we can achieve. And in that way, we create a cycle. Now, there's a system called 5 energy dynamics. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that, which talks much more about this and the 5 questions and how we can use that firstly to understand how we show up in the world and what our strengths are, and therefore also what are the things that the blind spots that we may have that we need to plan around. But this can be a guide in us understanding what our best game is. So if you're interested, you can go and do the vitality test, which gives you feedback on how these 5 questions show up in yourself. If you go to flowcanvas.com/energy, you can get free access to that test. So I've promised that I'll look at questions, but sort of in presenting, of course, it becomes a bit difficult to talk and read at the same time and keep your thoughts together. But if there are questions, I'll come back to them now. I want to get to the flow canvas and the tool, the simplifying of planning, because that's what you're going to basically do now. So these tools that we have and understanding ourselves and our focus are things that we can use to make sure that we're on the right path, that we can play our best game. But this is a very important thing that I've found in working with entrepreneurs, which the other day I realized is going to be 20 years very soon, is that we've got big ideas. And in many instances, we pursue big ideas and don't realize them and never come to the point where we understand why that is. Why is it that these really good ideas that we have don't have the impact that it could, or don't get to the point where it's successful as it could? And this very basic formula, it's not a scientific formula or mathematical formula, but it describes a certain relationship between your capacity to do things and the opportunities that you pursue, and the balance that you need between those two. And you can present that on a graph where you can say your individual skills or the capacity of your organization needs to be in balance with the challenges that are in the activities or the opportunities that you pursue as a business. In planning, what you're going to do to understand what the opportunities are that are in balance with your capacity is very important, because then you can focus on those that are appropriate for you. And so this is why this formula, the capacity times opportunities equals to results, is so important. You can think about it like this, that sort of, if you want to get better and better at what you do, there's kind of a growth path, and that if you stay more or less on that path or stretch yourself a bit more in pursuing opportunities that are bigger than what you have had in the past, that you can start playing leagues that are a bit bigger. So if you can think of 3 or 4 leagues, like maybe the soccer leagues, sort of you get the PSL in the first division and the second division, and then you also get the guys that are just kicking around the ball on a Sunday. Which league are you playing? It should be aligned to your capacity or your skill. So, there's the right position for someone who with a low ability to play football. Sort of go kick the ball on a Saturday. Don't go into that space up there, because you're going to have trouble. You're going to be challenged with things that you can't achieve. But you're going to be stressed. Sort of, some call that the marketer's dilemma. Sort of they pursue opportunities that are too big that they can't deliver on, and therefore things fall apart. But the opposite is also true. Sort of, if someone does have the capacity, they should be pursuing opportunities. If the capacity is big, they should be pursuing opportunities that are aligned with that. However, we get some people, and we can call that the engineer's dilemma, where what they do is kind of a bit boring compared to what they can actually achieve. That they over-design things, that they want it to be perfect before they go connect with people. And that is also not where you want to be. You want to be in that space where there's a balance between the two. So your business model must be best suited for you based on the balance between the opportunities and the capacity that you have. Very important point. And in the program, we'll explore that a bit more so that we can put you on that path that creates the momentum towards the results that you want. But let's get back to the 5 questions quickly. Sort of, I'm just cognizant of the time as well, as now already 22, and we want to leave some time for questions. So I want to show you what you're going to do online. We're going to come back to the 5 questions, because these 5 questions are the building blocks of the online tool that you're going to use to submit your plan, and which is going to be used for assessing who's coming into the program over the next 9 months. But let's start by thinking about it for a moment. If we say the 5 questions are comprehensive, gives us a comprehensive picture, how does it align to our business model? So the what question is really about that uniqueness that you offer. So maybe I can ask, if you can think of your business, if you answer the what question, what is unique in the value that you create? You can type it into the chat area, and then we can sort of get a sense of where we're at. What is unique? What is different in your business if compared to others that are doing something similar? So you may say, you're in a certain niche, or a certain sector or a certain industry, we develop apps that allows people to communicate better. But what is then different from what you do and what all the others are doing? And what is not only what is different, but what is the different in the value that you offer? So it's not only in the what that you do, sort of how you do it, sort of you deliver it in a certain way, but more in what you do, sort of what that value is. So if you can type there in the chat area, what is unique about what you do? Don't overthink it. It is just what is different. Chris says maximum value through innovation. So of course the question would be what is innovative about what you do? Let's get a bit specific. Sort of if we say innovative in maximizing value from waste, the detail of that distinguishes you from others. Now, sometimes this is an easy thing to talk about, because when we show up at a network event or so on, we talk a lot about what we do. However, when we get to the other 5 questions, it gets a bit more complicated because we don't talk about that so much. Maybe in terms of the who, the right people we connect with, that's something that becomes clear quite quickly. Who are the people that we serve? But in many instances, we fall into the trap to want to serve everyone, and we need to very clearly understand when we describe our business model what it is, who those people are that we are not meant to serve either. Who are the people we need to exclude from our focus? We can't be everything to everyone. So who are the people you're meant to serve, and who are the people that you need to connect with so that you can move forward with your business? Those that will support you in what is going to happen, both in terms of customers and other people. And then the third one is the when question, or when and where they go together. It's about the time and the value creation in time. This is about the transactions that you conclude. So if you understand what your uniqueness is in the what question, the uniqueness, then you can see how you can turn value into transactions. You can trade now. You can turn the value that you've created, you can turn into a transaction so that the trade can happen. And this is a really important thing. In the new economy thinking, transactions aren't necessarily always monetary. It could be monetary. It could be exchange of money. But there's lots of thinking happening about how these transactions can happen in different ways too. And we'll explore some of that during the program. It's not really my insights there. We'll rely on other people that know much more about it than I do. But this is really interesting stuff. New ways of transacting that we can talk about too. And then delivering on your promise, which is the how. This is the nitty-gritty, the detail of making sure everything happens as it should. That all the T's are crossed and the I's have the dots on, so that you can don't have unhappy people who you served. And then the last one is about the bigger intention of now it's lastly on the list, but in fact it is the most important, and that's the one that we start with when we talk about what you're going to do in using the Flow Canvas tool. But you can use a page and you can just say, why do I do, what do I do, with whom and when we I do it, and how do I do it, and that is kind of a very easy description of your business model. It's a starting point for you to also complete your online Flow Canvas submission you're going to do for us for the new Economy Accelerator. So I'm just going to pause there for a moment to have a drink, because we're going to talk quickly about the Flow Canvas now. And I'm going to do it fairly quickly in about 5 minutes, so that we've got 10 minutes left for questions and reflecting on where things go from here. So thanks, by the way, for those that have participated there in commenting and so on. I couldn't comment about all of what you were typing, but we will see how that comes to fruition in the plan that you're going to submit. By the way, if the slides look a bit fuzzy, it is because of bandwidth issues. Unfortunately, in our country, still bandwidth is a really challenging aspect of us and our lives. You want to say something now?
Christoff, I'm acting like the producer of your show now. I see a question from Gabriel asking you to re-emphasize what you mean by when and where, and give an example as well. So can you just recap that, please?
Yes. So the important thing is that if we describe our business model is that we need to attend to all 5 of those. Now, you'll remember that we said we as people show up in the world with some of those questions dominant. So most likely those that are dominant in ourselves, we're going to find easy to answer. Now, if we do the virality test and we get that feedback, we already know which are the ones that we need to look at that we might find challenging. So I wouldn't be surprised in this instance if who was it, Gabriela, that asked the question, that maybe perhaps the when question is not so strong in your natural makeup, perhaps, but yeah, it is when and where is time and place. Then when, where, time and place. So to be at the right time, at the right place, to be offering value. But so when and where kind of hides a bit the real essence of this thing, because it is about offering value. So in your business model, it is about when and where you offer value and how you do transactions in offering that value. So when you describe it in your business model and you answer that question, it is about the transactions that you do. When someone downloads my app, they pay $1. When in my industry, when I deliver a mentorship hour of service, I can charge so many rands for that hour. That is the exchange, the value exchange. So there's always a give and a take. You give something and you get something back. Many instances it's money, in some instances it's not. But let's move on to the flow canvas quickly. By the way, if we don't answer all the questions, we can in fact give feedback on questions still in other ways too. Everyone's emails we have, and there's a way to answer questions even if it's not here during the webinar. I just want to cover the flow canvas. This is really simple. I mean, it's not complicated at all. So if you stick with the 5 questions and you look at how we can use a 1 page to describe what we do, we want to go beyond just answering those 5 questions. It's a bit like a painting, with 4 dimensions, top, bottom, left, right, and we can fill those dimensions with a description or a picture that we're going to create about what our business looks like. So like in a painting, where you put the sky at the top, we were going to put the what question at the top. And as you put the grass or the ground at the bottom, we'll put the when and where at the bottom. So at the top, it is about the ideas, what do we stand for, and at the bottom, it is how we turn those ideas into actions and in value that we exchange. And then on the right of the picture, we will attend to the differentiation out there in the marketplace and in the community or where we operate. It's the who question, and on the left, it is the how question. The detail of the integration of it inside our business. So, on the right, maybe about outside of the business or organization, and on the left will be on the inside, how we organize ourselves. Which then leaves us with 4 broad areas that we've described, and the 5th question, of course, why, which is the starting question. The point of departure is the impact that we want to make, the purpose that we define for ourselves, the intention that we have, the bigger intention that we have, we put right in the middle of our plan. So this is the flow canvas framework that we've created, where we answer the 5 questions in different areas, and then you would notice that in the corners there would be overlap. Right top corner overlap between what and who, and the right bottom between who and when, and left bottom between how and when, and the left top between how and what. So there are 9 areas on a page, and if we draw this noughts and crosses 4 lines or hashtag on a piece of paper, or make up a table on a computer, we've got a framework that we can start our planning, and the interrelated, the dynamic interrelationship between these questions are starting to be reflected on the plan too. So what we've done with the flow canvas, and by the way, that then creates a cycle, because the one feeds the other. If we know what we do, we can know who to connect with, and we can do the transactions and then deliver on what we've promised. And that cycle is quite important in the flow canvas as well, because it helps you to see how the things fit together and how you can get better at what you do. So that if you've gone through one cycle, you can go to the next cycle, and in that cycle you're going to be better. So we can focus on what we need to do next rather than try to anticipate what we're going to do in 5 years' time from now. You know, traditional way of business planning is saying do a 3-year projection. What the flow canvas does is says we start with our bigger intention in the middle, and around the cycle we see how we get better by focusing on what we're going to do in the next flow cycle. When we talk about the flow canvas and when you're going to do the online tool, you're going to find that there's certain names that we ascribe to these 9 areas. So we start off with purpose. Purpose is the bigger intention. The question there that we need to answer is why your business or organization exists. What is the big impact that you want to achieve, that you want to contribute towards? You know, and in the new economy, this is really important for us to be clear, because we need to know that we're actually making that difference. You know, this is not just lip service like the mission or vision statement that companies paste at the reception on the wall that no one really knows. This is a driving force in your business or organization. And that's also why it's in the middle. And that then informs your focus, which is the next area. I'm getting a bit picking up speed here so that we cover all of it in the tool itself. So you don't have to stress too much. You can just be with it for now. In the online tool itself, it goes into more detail. The video clips that explains to you exactly how these things fit together too. So you won't be lost in doing the tool. You don't have to grasp everything right now. But the focus is about what we do and the uniqueness of that, so that if we know how we're unique, how we're different in the sector that we serve, we can move on to the transactions at the bottom. You know, that's the when and where. So the focus is our uniqueness, and the transactions is like a mirror image of that. We trade in our uniqueness, and we exchange value in our uniqueness, and then we know who the people are that we need to connect with, who would want to do those transactions with us. So the story goes like this. In traditional business planning, is go do market research about what is out there, what the needs are, and then you go design something. But that's how Unilever does it. That's not how we as entrepreneurs do it. We are driven by a purpose and then connect with the right people. So you need to know who the people are and that there's enough of them and that they can do the exchange with you. But it's perhaps not the first question that we naturally ask. However, when you know who the people are, you still need to be able to connect with them. So if you can describe the people in detail and then go on to say, but in the next element of attention, I need to, if you know your audience, you need to know how they're going to know about you. So that question is, how and where are you noticed? So this is not about coming up with a huge marketing plan. It is about knowing who the people are that must notice you and how they are actually going to notice you. What are the things that you're going to do so that they know about you? You don't want them to take any action yet, you just want to know that they know about you. But if they've noticed you, you want to move on towards creating the desire for them to do the transactions with you. So here you can start to see how the cycle works on the plan. Sort of it goes from your uniqueness. If you know what your uniqueness is, you can get the attention of the right people. If the right people have noticed you, you can help them along, you can create a desire for them to do the transactions with you. Okay, so desire is really about making it impossible for them to say no. How can you make it impossible for them to say no? We talk about here about things like testimonials, perhaps, or sort of other ways of making promises that you can keep, and that will make it easier for them to do the transaction with you. And then if the transaction is done, you need to deliver on what you've promised, and that is the detail, all the detail of the logistics, the resources, and the people and the money that you need to keep your promises. Which then moves us on to the 8th element in our plan, which is that of culture. Remember, this is about how we organize ourselves inside our business. So while audience is about defining who you serve, culture is about organizing yourself so that you're sustainable and profitable. So it has to do with all the things like how we're accountable, who we report to, what systems we follow, things like compliance. Do you register as a company, as a trust, as an NPC? What is the right way for you to operate? What are the municipal requirements that you need to comply with? All those kind of detail that you need to look at in terms of the way that you organize yourself. And then the last one is about improvement. This is where we ask, which are the things that we need to look at in the preceding cycle, and what can we measure so that we know where changes must be made so that we get better and that we can improve in the next cycle. Okay, so that's very quickly. I'm sorry that we had to rush today, but we will get to much more detail in the future in terms of how we can use this tool. You don't have to stress about it right now, because in the online tool it takes you step by step, question by question, through answering the right stuff, considering the right stuff, so that you can, in a very concise sentence, describe each of these 9 elements in your plan. So my point here today is that we need to look at how we play our best game, and we need to simplify our plan so that we can use these kind of tools, and they're just tools to help us. There's still a lot of hard work. It's not a magic bullet that's going to create success overnight, but we can use these tools and distinctions in guiding us so that the likeliness of us being successful is just that bigger. And by the way, there's the website address that you need to go to complete your one-page plan. It's not complicated, as I say. It's easy, it's navigational, and you can just follow the process, follow the instructions, flowcanvas.com/NEA, and that will take you through a process of answering questions. In fact, if you go on it right now, you will see a page looking more or less like this. All you need to do there is click the start button, and if you do click the start button, it will take you into the website. In fact, I'll open the website just now. But perhaps now you've been monitoring the questions and being more engaged in Nikiwe, you too. What do we need to do next in the next 5-10 minutes to make sure we address all the questions that are there?
Thanks, Christoff. I just thank everyone for keeping the chat room abuzz. I think most of the responses coming from participants now, mostly people are telling us about their businesses and the unique value that they are offering. So just, if there's any other questions people want to pose, please, enter the chat room and let us know, if there are any responses you have got specifically. So I see Nonlala said that are we going to send a specific page to complete? Nonlala, Christoff has just said now that there is a link, so you will complete that one page online, and you'll be able to save it after completing. Filling it out. So we're not sending any separate thing. We'll just send you the link. If you have not received that already, you will receive it. But while I'm having the mouthpiece now, I just want to emphasize that as you fill in that one page, think about the new economy. What does it actually mean in terms of your business? Have your own individual interpretation of what a new economy is, and we have tried to guide you there with some of the key discourse around the new economy. What does it actually mean? So it's around purpose, around achieving broader human well-being, issues around equality and social justice and sustainability and so on. But just the new economy basically emphasizes the idea about business with a purpose. So it's not about purpose, which it could be environmental outcomes, it could be social outcomes and things like that. And you might also just want to familiarize yourself with some of the emerging tools around the new economy. It could be innovative forms of ownership. It could be things like time banks. If you've been following news in America, there's all this movement around the sharing economy, the collaborative economy, and things like that. So there is a significant resources out there of what describes a new economy. But the most important thing I would like to emphasize is that there's no single definition of a new economy. So it's open to interpretation, and a lot of it is around the value that your business is offering. So we have tried to guide you somewhat to give you an interpretation of the new economy, but it's all up to you to demonstrate to us the value that your business offers in the context of the new economy.
Yes, and that is an issue that we will explore a bit more in the program too. I assume that there's going to be quite a lively debate in some instances, which I can already see starting now. Just scan through the chat now. Interesting stuff. I just want to say that if you follow that web link, you're going to find a page like this, which I'm showing now. And it's really as easy as filling out a form, which I'm sure most of you have done online. The only important thing to note here is that you need to do this in one sitting. It's going to take you about an hour and a half, 2 hours, depending on how much you want to look at the video clips and so on. But it basically takes you, sort of step by step through answering the questions. I'm not going to spend too much time on that now, but yeah, it takes you through this. You define your name, your email address, etc., etc., and each time you just click and go down. Eventually, you're going to come to a space where it's going to ask, it's going to show you some video clips to as a background to each of the planning elements that you need to fill out. But it's as simple as this. But just remember that you need to keep your tab open and go right to the end and click submit. Otherwise, you will lose the work that you've done. So it is 11 o'clock now, and our promise was an hour. We can, however, attend to specific questions. So if you do have specific questions, please type in the chat there. If I may ask, Nikiwe, you've been quietly monitoring things as they went along. Is there something that you've picked up that we should be covering also in terms of the detail of logistics that people need to note?
I think so far everybody has it clear, but in terms of the logistics, I'm going to reiterate what Mao has said to Nonhlanhla. The one pager, we won't send it to you directly, but it is available on the link that Christoff has highlighted. And if you have any problems in accessing that, then you can just drop me an email and then I'll assist you in sorting that out. In terms of Chris, I'm not sure if Mao has answered your question, but he did mention what the core principles were in terms of the new economy. So it's about human well-being, social justice. It's not just limited to green and sustainable. It's thinking beyond what the normal economy has to offer. So how do you speak to human well-being, new forms of ownership, new forms of trade, and the social justice and the different environmental outcomes. Yeah.
Great stuff. So, Mao, if I can ask you if you can maybe end off our webinar for us today. I must say I enjoyed it. I always like talking about the flow canvas and how one can use it. But the nitty-gritty, of course, is where the real value lies. So good luck with preparing that. It is really an easy tool to use. It takes you step by step through it. If you do get stuck, let us know. We will help you through that. But the important thing is Monday. I'm not sure if there's time as well. But Monday, what time is the cutoff there? The time?
It's midday on Monday. So, but we're just hoping that by Monday morning or Sunday the applications will be, the one-page business plans will be flowing in. But the cut point is midday on Monday, so 12 p.m.
Okay, and it is flowcanvas.com .nea is the flowcanvas.com /NEA. That's the way to make sure that you get to the right place. So you can even try it now and see if it opens for you. But now, perhaps if you can end us off with something about the community, perhaps, because we spoke a bit about that beyond the 9-month program, stuff in the pipeline.
Yeah, well, I think that the really thing that I wanted to say here is that we're trying to build a community of practice here. So the new economy is not really new. What we know is that there's so many people who are doing amazing stuff on the ground, game-changing stuff, but everyone is doing so in their own isolated space. And so for us, this platform is one that is trying to if you like, to change the narrative in terms of the new economy, and hopefully it will mainstream some of those issues on the one hand, but also gives us an opportunity to do radical experimentation on the ground. So the initiatives that you guys are working with on the ground are very critical in allowing us to tell the story of the new economy as we interpret it in the South African, in the African context. So we would really like to keep everyone engaged, and in my email I've appealed to all of you to set up your page for enterprise on the Attain website, and which is the African Transition to a New Economy, which is the anchor initiative for the accelerator, so that we can have these conversations and hopefully we can take these issues to the next level. Yeah.
Great, thank you very much, everyone. You'll hear from us soon, or in fact, we will first hear from you when you submit your plans. and good luck with that. And looking forward to working with the 10 on the program and the others in joining the community of good practice to make a difference in the world. So have a good day.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.